Welcome to the Buick Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Marion, and on this podcast, we dive deep into the outdoors. We discuss hunting and fishing techniques, give you tips and tricks, tell stories, and everything in between to help you enjoy the outdoors. This podcast is brought to you by Northbound Gear. Northbound Gear is designed for maneuverability and durability and is made to last through even the toughest of elements. My go-to for their pants is the water resistance adventure pants and their lined waterproof jeans. I've worn them while out ice fishing, crawling through the woods bear hunting, and on the west coast out on the boat. And I even wear them around when I'm having a lazy day at the house. They are that comfortable. They also offer jackets, summer pants, backpacks, and many more. Men's and women's sizes are available, and by partnering with One Tree Planted, you're planting a tree with every purchase. Check them out for yourself at northboundgear.co, and when you use my promo code Sheldon15 at checkout, you'll receive 15% off your order. That's northboundgear.co and promo code Sheldon15. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Buick Outdoors podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host Sheldon Marion, and before we get into this, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to listen to it on the go, just search up the Buick Outdoors Podcast on all major podcast platforms, and you'll find us on there. Also, if you are just listening to this and you want to watch the video version, head over to our YouTube channel, and you'll see a little podcast playlist, and you can watch this one and every single other one that we've pretty well ever recorded. But anyways, guys, we're going to get into it here now. I think spring is here. I'm not exactly too sure. The weather that we've been having has been just up and down like crazy. In April, it wasn't too bad, but then pretty well the last week of April, getting into this first 2 weeks of May, has been just brutal. Hopefully, the snow that we just got is kind of like our typical May long weekend snow. I've been trying to tap birch trees and make syrup and all that stuff, which we did get that all done, but the snow and sleet and rain definitely did not make it easy or overly too enjoyable. It was a bit of a struggle this year, but we got her done. And it's been about tapping birch trees, almost every year. Since I've figured out how to tap them, I've been out tapping birch trees and making syrup as long as I'm around, because they only run for about 3 weeks to 4 weeks in the springtime. You have to wait until the ground is thawed enough where the trees are actually starting to draw moisture up from the ground, and then as the moisture is going up, you tap into that inner layer of tree, kind of between like the bark and where the tree starts. There's that real thin layer right there where all the nutrients and stuff kind of goes up, and you tap into that. What I use is a 7/16 wood drill bit and a cordless drill, and the reason why I use the 7/16 drill bit is because the taps I use are 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch male by male hose connectors. They're just little brass hose connectors. You can get them pretty well at any Canadian Tire, Home Hardware, Lowe's, Rona, plumbing stores. Heck, even Walmart will probably carry them, kind of a thing. But when you use the 7/16, it's just slightly smaller than 1/2 inch. So in that way, when you put your 1/2 inch connector in there, or your tap, it makes a pretty decent, good little seal. So then it all actually comes out the tap instead of runs down the side of the tree. Also, for a little container that I use or a collector, whatever you want to call it, this year I just used a red Solo cup and thumbtacks. Basically, I take it, run a thumbtack through the red Solo cup, whatever it is, maybe 1/2 inch from the lip, and then I put that probably about 2 inches below the tap. Then that way, when I go around and I collect my syrup or my sap, I don't have to actually pull the cup off of the tree. I just hold the bucket underneath there. I grab the cup and I just turn it. The lip clears your tap. Put your cut back onto the tree where it's straight up and down, and then you don't have to pull the pin every single time, and it just makes things a little bit faster if you do put it close to the tap and you have to pull the pin out every time. It's not a big deal. You're not doing it the wrong way or anything like that. It just makes collection a little bit slower, but that's okay. Do you want to become part of the Buick Outdoors team, represent one of the best Northern BC YouTube channels, and help us grow? If you do, then check out our brand new online store. We have a bunch of new merch set up and ready to sell. We have everything from hats, shirts, sweaters, cups, mugs, backpacks, pillows, and the list goes on. It's also made for men, women, children, toddlers, and we even have something for your pets. We have several designs to choose from and a bunch of different colors and sizes. Head over to shop.spreadshirt.ca/Buick Outdoors to check it out. That's shop.spreadshirt.ca/Buick Outdoors and join the team today. Another thing that I'll use too, depending on what tree it is, because some trees run extremely fast. Some they have like 1 drip per second. Others, it's like you went over to a tap and you just turned it on. It's a steady stream coming out pretty well. But some of them, I'll take a 2-inch nail and I'll put it in on top of the hose connector, and then I'll have like a dollar store bucket, and I just hang the handle off the nail, and then it'll just steadily run into the bucket. And then those buckets too, depending on the size of them, but like dollar store ones, they're whatever they are, 6 to 8 inches tall, kind of 3 to 4 inches around, and they can hold almost a liter of sap. And there's been a couple of times where I've gone and collected all my sap when I'm using those buckets, and they've been overflowing. And when you're doing it like that, you'll collect a ton of sap in a very short amount of time, and it works really well. For the red solo cups, I like using them because where I tap my trees is just right here around the corner. It's a 15-minute side-by-side drive over there. I can go there every couple of hours and empty them all out. Plus, they're small, they're packable. I can take my drill, my taps, my red solo cups, my hammer, and all my tacks all in one 5-gallon bucket. So for me, it's nice because I do this just in the side-by-side, and then I got the dogs, and I got the woman, and got the 4570 and all that stuff. So I pack, in a way, quite a bit of stuff, but it's all kind of small. But everything fits into the Ranger, no problem. When I've used buckets before, everything still fits, but then it's just a little more clustered, and if you hit a rut or whatever a little too hard, all the buckets start scattering in the box of the Ranger. Then the dogs are stepping on them, or the dogs are jumping out, kind of a thing. So when it comes to using buckets, if I'm doing it in my truck, kind of a thing, I wouldn't have any problems using small buckets for collecting sap. But for me, with the side-by-side and I'm right close, red solo cups is definitely the way to go. Once I get everything all collected, I bring it back to the house, and you have to filter it. Not because it's dirty or anything like that, but there's always going to be a small ant, mosquito, a moth, piece of bark, whatever, that falls into a cup here and there. And then if you're like me and you have 25 trees tapped, well, if the odd cup has a moth in it, by the end you're gonna have like 12 moths in your bucket. But what I do is I just take a clean 5-gallon bucket, and I take either a game bag or a pillowcase, and I drape it over the top of it, so there's just a small little kind of dome in there, and I just take my unfiltered sap, dump it through the pillowcase or the game bag, and then it just grabs all your sticks and bugs and whatever else is falling into your bucket while you're out collecting, and it does a phenomenal job. I've never had any issues with it at all. The other thing that you're gonna need is a big burner and a big pot. So for us, I have one of those 2-burner Camp Chef burners, and it works phenomenal. If you don't have one of them, just a regular like turkey deep fryer works good. And worst case scenario, if you have enough time on your hands and you have a small little lid, honestly, just boil it down over a fire. Or you can do it in your house, but it's 99% water, and in order for you to get like a liter of sap, you need to boil off like 100 liters of birch sap. So to do it in your house for that long, like you're boiling this stuff for 8 to 12 hours kind of a thing. So I wouldn't recommend doing the whole process in your house. It's just going to create so much moisture and possibly mold and mildew and stuff. So it is best to do it outside. But if you're curious enough and desperate enough, you can do it inside, but I do not recommend that whatsoever. Now, while you're out collecting all your sap off the trees, one thing that's always refreshing to me is to grab the cup right off the tree and just have a nice, great big swig of it fresh from the tree. It's like one of the best vitamin waters you'll ever taste in your life, especially if it's like -1 in the morning and there's just that slight little crust of ice on top. Take that ice, peel it off, and take a swig of that. Man, is it ever good. And if you want to learn like the health benefits of just straight birch water, you should just Google it and see all the list and benefits that come from the birch water and a birch tree in general. Like that's like the magical tree of the bush. Like there's so many benefits and stuff that you can get out of a birch tree. It's phenomenal. One thing I will caution you about though, if you drink too much just straight birch sap, it is a laxative. I learned the hard way by doing that. But you do have to drink a lot. So if you're gonna go out and drink 1 or 2 cups fresh off the tree, you're fine there. Like you don't have anything to worry about. If you start drinking like 6, you're gonna want to bring toilet paper with you. It'll start to work its way through your system, and it does a really good job actually. But yeah, if you do want to drink it, it's perfectly fine, and it does take quite a bit for the laxative side to kick in. But just to give you a little bit of a warning that it does work. But yeah, and then once you start to boil it down too, it's an all-day ordeal. For me, I usually collect sap I take a day to tap all my trees, and then it's probably about 2 days of collection, and then after that, it's at least a day or 2 to boil everything down. Basically, I get 2 big pots on my burners going. You fill it right up, whatever, 2 inches from the rim. Turn on your burners and just let it boil and steam. Once it gets cooked down or reduced by about half, just top it up with new fresh sap, and I'll do that until I'm completely out of sap, and until it starts to turn kind of like a real dark brown. And then I make sure I'll turn it off, transfer everything into one pot, and then that's when I bring it inside the house to finish it off. When it's getting close to being done, like I take a spoon and I'm constantly tasting it to make sure there's no bitter, there's no burn and stuff. But once it starts to get like a deep dark brown, instead of cooking it on high, I'll turn it down to a medium. And instead of boiling, it kind of turns more into like a simmer. And then that way you're able to simmer it down nice and slow and kind of like smooth almost. And then there's no chance of getting it a little too hot, kind of a thing. But you'll see on the very top, there'll be like a little skim of orangey brown kind of foam and froth that start to develop. And once you have a nice like even layer across the whole top, it's pretty well done. After that, it seems like you start to lose a bit of the sweetness and you start getting more of a bitter taste to it. And you can stop it before that if you want to use it more for like a marinade kind of a thing. But for me, I like it more thick, so I use it more or less for syrup instead of like a marinade. But as it's cooking down, I have my spoon, constantly tasting it, make sure it's still sweet, and then also I'll have a spoonful of it. And it's just like when you're making jam or jelly, you turn your spoon to dump it out, and when it goes off your spoon, but then kind of rides back up to the back side of that spoon and tries to kind of ride the spoon a little bit before dropping down, then you know that it's starting to get a little bit thicker. You kind of can do a plate test, like what you do with jams and jellies, where you take a spoonful of it, put it onto a plate, run your fingers through, and watch how fast it kind of comes back after it separates. Unfortunately, it is syrup, so it's not really gonna separate and then slowly come back. What I do is I put it on like the outside rim of the plate, and I just kind of rotate it so it's kind of spread out, and then I basically tap my finger on it and see how long it takes for the size to get sticky. That's kind of the best way I can describe that, but pretty well once it starts to turn dark brown, almost a black color, and you have that foam on top, and you taste it and it's nice and sweet, but call it good enough. I'd rather undercook it slightly instead of overcook it. If you overcook it and it turns bitter, nobody likes that. No, some people might like it. It's kind of like, I don't know. You'd be like expecting milk chocolate and you bite into dark chocolate. Some people like dark chocolate, but if you're expecting something sweet and savory kind of a thing, and you get a mouthful of dark chocolate, you're not going to be overly too happy about it. And this stuff too, like, it tastes phenomenal. It's like a mixture of caramel, molasses, and maple syrup kind of combined. It is just phenomenal stuff. And I have a jar of it here that I just finished up yesterday. If you're just listening to it, you can't exactly see, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see how dark that is. When you shake it up in your mason jar, it sticks to the glass there, and yeah, it's just phenomenal stuff, and it tastes great. While you're boiling it too, one thing should be mentioned is you'll see little brown flakes kind of starting to float around in it, and I'm pretty sure what that is just the natural sugars kind of melting and then binding to each other, and that's what creates the dark color too. Because like right now, it's all that real dark blackish brown, looks like crude oil kind of a color. And I'm pretty sure that's just all the sugars. They got hot enough to where they caramelized, and then they bonded together and created syrup. Also, if you haven't seen the video, I just finished editing up the video for making this batch of syrup. If you want to go onto our YouTube channel and check that out, I believe the title is Birch Syrup from Start to Finish, and then the thumbnail is a picture of all my red solo cups in the trees, and then on the left side there's a picture of all the jars. And then while you're there, you might as well subscribe to the channel too, so you can stay up to date on all of our videos coming out. But if for whatever reason you can't find us on YouTube, or you can't find our video, or you just don't want to watch it, you can watch how people make maple syrup, and it's basically the identical process, just a different tree, and their taps are a little bit different. I'm not gonna spend a pile of money on fancy metal taps with hooks and little fancy buckets that hook onto that and all of that. We don't need that. We're pretty low class around here. We make things work. But yeah, that's one thing that I highly encourage everybody to kind of give her a try in the spring. Plus, it's really nice when you're able to, it's extremely family friendly. Anyone can go out, even if you have like a 1-month-old child, you can still bring them out there. And there's no loud noises. There's nothing dangerous is happening. It's very, very easy to take anyone and everyone out with you. You just pack up the truck, have all your supplies in the truck, find a nice little stand of birch trees, and honestly, like, even if you just want to tap one or two just to taste the birch sap and not make syrup, it's still enjoyable and rewarding to go out there and give her a try. But yeah, at the end of the day, you end up getting just some phenomenal syrup and some amazing water, and it all tastes good. One thing that I'm also pretty excited about is we were finally able to get that Starlink internet. I've been on a waiting list for that for it had to be 2 years. Basically, what Starlink internet is, if you don't know what it is, it's satellite internet. The difference between guys like Starlink and other satellite internets is Starlink is like low orbiting, where they're a couple hundred clicks from the Earth instead of like whatever it is, 1,000 kilometers or however it works, where it's much lower than all the other internet satellites. So, and your speeds are much, much faster. Like if you get ExploreNet, they're a big satellite provider. With those guys, like, your top speeds are like 15 to 25 megabytes per second. And, I mean, it'll get the job done. I don't think you'll really be able to watch stuff in 4K or stream, like live stream overly too good. But you can still watch movies, you can still play games and check your emails and all that stuff. Where with Starlink, because they're low orbiting, and then also they're the way they talk to each other, like the satellites, they kind of use lasers almost to talk to the one that's coming into the field of view, kind of a thing. Where the other ones, the only way you have internet is if you have a direct connection to the satellite, and once it's out of its field of view, it has to connect to the next one, and then you can kind of have a little bit of like latency problems or lag or whatever, very slow internet while it connects to the next one. Where with Starlink, it's low orbiting, so you already have faster internet, but as satellite 1 is kind of coming over top of your sky, and it's kind of getting out of range, and satellite 2 is coming in. What they have now is satellite 1 will shoot across to satellite 2 with like a laser type of thing, and it'll communicate while your satellite dish is trying to communicate with number 1 and 2 at the same time. So when there's kind of like a constant loop almost, so when there's very, very little to almost no lag or latency problems or slow internet kind of a thing. And for me out here, the speeds that I get is slightly worse than other people, and that's only because of where I have it set up at. Unfortunately, around my yard, there's a ton of trees. So there's one little strip that's kind of open that I can set up my satellite there. And, I'm getting between 10 to 100 megabytes per second. And that's out here with a bunch of obstructions and trees. And then the house is here too. So it's not ideal where I have the satellite. I'm sure if I moved it or put it up on a big pole kind of a thing, then I would get what everybody else is typically getting. And that's anywhere between 100 to 250 megabytes per second. And that's with satellite internet. A lot of people with fiber optic stuff in like Port St. John, they see 100 to 150 megabytes per second. So with this being just a remote rural internet, I mean, you can use it in town too if you really want to. I don't see a reason why you'd want to spend this much money on that, but anyways, it will work in town. But I'm way out in Buick in the kind of in the middle of the bush, and I have internet that's just as fast as people that live in town. It's a phenomenal thing. I haven't had internet for it's been about 10 years now. I've just been using the internet on my phone or one of those small little mobile hotspots. I had one of them for about 2 years, and then I ended up just tossing that thing in the trash. It ran its course. But one thing is that it is a bit expensive. You have to buy the hardware all up front. And with that, I had a deposit down on mine to put me on a waiting list. But now you don't have to put the deposit down. You can just buy the hardware. And I think it's $700 for the equipment. And then once it's sent to you, it's $140 per month. And that's for unlimited high-speed internet. And then I think it was about 2 days ago, I got an email from Starlink saying that I'm eligible for the portability. So the portability means I can unhook it from the house, and as long as I am within the areas that is available for Starlink for us, out in Bear Camp, it's pretty well going to be on the edge. If I was going to go up to like Fort Nelson kind of a thing, it's not available up there, so I wouldn't be able to bring it up the highway. But right around in here, this country, I'm able to just shut it all down, pack it all up, throw it into the holiday trailer, and if I go to Bear Camp, Graham River, Halfway, Williston Lake, Moberly, Tumbler Ridge, they're all in the availability map. So pretty well no matter where I go within like the kind of southern half of the Peace region, I can have high-speed internet now, which is really cool. And I almost feel like a city slicker when I'm talking about it, because it's, to me, like, you don't really realize how much internet a guy uses until you don't have it, kind of a thing. But for me, it's kind of the opposite way. I never realized how useful internet is until I got it back, kind of a thing. So like most of the time I would save all my stuff that I had to do on the internet when I got to work, or the odd time I'd run the hotspot on my cell phone. But then you end up burning up all your internet real quick on your phone. But now that I have it out here, I'm pretty well constantly on it. And when it comes time to like upload a video, I don't have to wait till I'm at work. I just do it here. The internet's faster here anyways than it is at work. The video I just uploaded of the Birch syrup, I believe it's about 22 minutes. And before on my hotspot, that would take probably 3 hours to upload. At work, it would take probably about 4 hours to upload. Here, it was uploaded, monetized, all my ads were placed, and all my ad suitability questionnaires were done in about 20 minutes. So like it's a game changer if you're doing like content creation like I do. It's kind of weird being a guy that hosts a podcast and has a YouTube channel, and didn't have internet. It was pretty hard to explain to people how I was doing this with no internet. But yeah, now I have Starlink. So come bear season here, when we head out to bear camp, I'm gonna bring it with us, and I'm gonna see how it works out there. I honestly think it'll work better out there because we'll be on an old and abandoned lease where it's wide open and there's no trees and there's no obstructions. So honestly, in the holiday trailer out in bear camp, the internet's gonna work faster and better than it will at home, which is pretty cool. And for the most part, it is gonna be just for uploading videos, uploading podcasts, maybe do a live stream or something like that. But let's be honest, there's going to be some Netflix and movies being watched while we're out there too, which would be pretty cool if there's a day where it's just raining and muddy and sloppy and we can't go anywhere. Fire up a generator, turn on the internet, watch movies. Why not? We're out there to have fun and enjoy ourselves, so might as well bring it with us. Use it while we have it. Plus the portability too, it's an extra $30 a month. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, I can't remember. But yeah, for another $30 a month, it's no big deal. At the end, it's $170 a month for unlimited internet almost anywhere you go. But yeah, and also with the portability too, reading on all the terms and services, and I've read everything that they've sent me, it sounds like you can turn it off and on when you need it. So like for the month of May and June, I'll have it on because I'll be in bear camp and I'll be using it like a ton out in bear camp. And then in July, if I'm sitting around at home and I'm not traveling with it, I can turn the portability off, and then it's just gets cut off from the bill cycle, and it'll just drop back down to $140 a month. So like that part's pretty cool. That's neat how you can kind of pick and choose when you need it. So that's that's a big bonus to me, because I know some years I travel all over the place. I'll bring that with me to whatever, Bear Camp, Prince Rupert, Tumbler Ridge, Dawson Creek area, Boot Lake, One Island, whatever. And then some years, like this year, because like the price of fuel and stuff, I'm not really going to be going anywhere. Or, for whatever, maybe 2 shifts off, I'll go somewhere like May and June, I'll be in bear camp. July, I'll probably be sitting at home. August, maybe we'll go to the river. And so if I need it for May and June, I can turn portability on. For July, I don't need it, turn it off, save $30. If I'm out on the river in August or September, I can turn it back on, spend another $30 a month. And then when I'm back home, October, November, December, turn it off, save money. So it's really cool that they give you that option where you can turn it on and off. It's not just a solid, here you go, we're going to charge you an extra $30 a month for something that you're only going to use whatever, a handful of times per year. For me, I'll use it more than the average person. However, if you're living in Tumbler Ridge and you turn portability on because you're going to Charlie Lake for the weekend and you want to bring it with you so your kids can watch movies or whatever, and if that was the only time that you used it and it was just either on all the time or off all the time, and they charge you an extra $30 a month to use it, one weekend, that'd be kind of a pain. It is only $30 per month, but at the end of the year, that adds up to, what is that, $360. So, yeah, I really appreciate that you're able to actually pick and choose when you need it and when you don't. Part of us going out to bear camp here this spring too. I mentioned it before. We're gonna be looking for some mushrooms and wild edibles. Two of the books that I got here the National Audubon Society Field Guide to Mushrooms. That's going to be coming with us. Also got this Wild Edible Mushrooms of British Columbia book. And these things too, like, they're more or less just kind of guides. If there's any lookalikes whatsoever, I highly doubt I'll even chance eating the mushroom. But there's a couple that I'll for sure give a go. I don't know. It's one of those things where you have to be smart about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're mushrooms, so it is going to be a little risky kind of a thing, but for the most part, like, if there's chanterelles, chicken in the woods, hen in the woods, shaggy manes, morels, they're all pretty straightforward kind of a thing. So with those ones, as far as I know, there's hardly any lookalikes for those ones, so they're like a pretty safe one to eat and try. So with those, I'll risk it. If anything, I'll eat it the first time. The second time, if nothing happens to me, the second time I'll feed it to other people. Maybe start with Shelby and Blaine, and then from there we'll work our way down the family lines or the outer friendship circles kind of a thing. I don't really want to poison anybody, so we'll take her slow and easy with the mushrooms. And then the other book I got here is the Boreal Herbal. I've had this book for several years now. I think I picked this up one trip when we were either heading to or coming back from Prince Rupert or Stewart. I think it was Stewart, and then when you're going through one little small town, there's a well, I don't know what you want to call it. We'll just call it a little shop on the right hand side of the highway. It's like a little convenience store kind of a thing. I don't think they sell fuel, but yeah, we stop in there and they got all kinds of books like that and little memorabilia and things, and it's kind of an oddball of a place, but that's where I picked that up from. And yeah, and then Blaine's buddy was telling him about the book too, and then Blaine ended up picking one up. So now every time Blaine heads out to the bush there, he brings out his Boreal Herbal book, and yeah, he's slowly learning more and more things, just like I am, about the bush and wild edibles and stuff. It's pretty neat, everything that we have just right here around us. The amount of knowledge and stuff that are in some of these books and all the stuff that you can learn from them is just astronomical. Like one of the berries that I found, I had no idea what it was. I asked Dad about it. He wasn't 100% sure about it. So I came home and opened up my book, and it was soapberry. And what really got me is that they were kind of like ripe and sweet and ready to eat in, I want to say at the end of June, beginning of July. So it was early for every other berry. But yeah, this year I think I'm going to go back to where I found them, and I'm going to pick a bunch of them and make up some jam, because it was like a really tasty berry. But it was one of those things where I've seen it grow in a handful of places. One was up the road here where I'm going to go back and pick some, and then others was in a friend's yard, again down the road but the other direction. And other than that, I don't think I've really seen them in the wild. So it was a head scratcher for me, but because I have the Boreal Herbal book, I opened up the page, whatever it was, and looked at all the berries, and oh yeah, there it is. Nice little picture of it, a description, what you can use it for. So yeah, it's a great book to have if you're into the woods and into wild edibles and all that good stuff. Also another thing I might be doing, I'm not too sure. I might wait until kind of later on in June or July is I think this year I'm going to be doing a lot more little campouts and stuff. Little overnight camping trips with the tent or sleeping bags and tarps. This year we're kind of, we're really stuck on where we can go and what we can do. So fortunately, it seems like people do enjoy the camp out videos, and it's a great way to bring people along as well. I've brought Shelby out with me. I've brought Blaine out with me. Maybe one of the ones in June or July, we can convince Blaine and his woman Courtney to come out with us, do a little camp out, under a tarp or something like that. And if I do those, basically what'll happen is I'll have all my bear hunts filmed and edited and scheduled, and then this camping stuff, it'll be filmed and edited, and then I'll have it scheduled so it comes out, throughout the summer and then into the fall, kind of a thing. That's one thing that kind of sucks about living up north here is May, June, July, August, and September, I'm able to film like crazy. All the camping I can do, the hunting, the fishing, and it's just awesome. The problem is, though, I want to schedule one video to come out every Friday. And if you've been kind of subscribed to the YouTube channel for a while, you would have noticed that last year I was still airing chicken hunts into December, because I would go out on my days off, I'd hunt for 3 days, and I'd have 3 videos. So that was 3 weeks of videos I'd have after 1 week. Now if you do that for all 4 weeks of September, I mean that's 3, 6, 9, that's 12 videos that you end up having. So that's 3 months. So unfortunately, it might kind of cut into some stuff this fall, but I can always kind of spread it out too. Or a lot of times what I end up doing is I'll put up a video Friday, like a main video Friday. Every second Monday is this podcast, and then every other Monday I might just drop in one of the other videos too. That way I don't get overly too far ahead. But then come winter, it is nice to be able to stretch things out by quite a bit, because up here our weather is so strange and crazy, where like this week it was -3, snowing, raining, sleet. Got 3 inches of snow overnight, like 3 days in a row, kind of a thing. And then it sort of kind of warmed up during the day, but the wind was blowing, so it would just kind of pack all the snow down. Overnight it was snow again. Yesterday was -5. Today's supposed to be +13. So we kind of get the same crazy weather patterns in the winter as well. And then unfortunately, because I do work a week on, week off, there's times where during my week off, it's 7 days of -40 and wind blowing. And then I go back to work and it'll be -5, clear blue skies, sunny weather. It's just beautiful, gorgeous weather, but I'm at work, so I can't go out and I can't do anything. And then, again, come back, you have like 1 or 2 really nice days, so we quickly pack up all the stuff, run out to the lake, hope like hell you catch fish, do a day or 2 of filming, and then the wind picks up, big snowstorm comes in, or it gets cold again, and it is a bit of a struggle some weeks. So I don't know, those camping ones, if it's like January and all of a sudden I'm sleeping in a tent outside, don't be overly too surprised, kind of a thing. It's kind of a catch-22, because with YouTube, you want to keep like the algorithm kind of happy, where if you're consistent, then it realizes that you're one of the I don't want to say top performers or whatever, anything crazy like that, but you're one of the consistent people. They kind of rely on you to produce a video every Friday, so they kind of push you out a little bit more than somebody that kind of puts a video out once a month or once every 2 or 3 months, whenever they kind of feel like it, kind of a thing. So I really want to keep that roll going. Plus, if you're a subscriber and you're looking forward to a video coming out on Friday, if it's February and it's -30 and you get to watch a video of me camping out when it was +10 or +20, it would almost be a nice little break instead of seeing me freeze on the ice somewhere. But oh well, we'll that's all for future stuff here. In bear camp this year too. What I really want to do is focus a little more on cooking side of things. Probably what I'll do is I'll do like catch, clean, and cook videos, depending on how long the hunts last for. Another thing I might do is little cooking segments as well. 'Cause I've done that in the past, and some do good, some just kind of flop, but whatever. It gives some people some ideas on how to cook and how to treat their meat, kind of a thing, especially when it comes to bear meat. I really don't think too many people hunt bears because they have no clue on how to cook the meat. And that's where I really want to step it up a little bit here this spring when it comes to cooking. I have a few ideas that I want to do. One's like a skirt steak stir fry, and I think it's the skirt steak. Whatever you call the diaphragm on the inside. It's the diaphragm and then that little flap that's right underneath the ribs, kind of a thing. Most of the time when we're butchering something, we grab that, we cut all the way around, we grab that big flab of real thin meat, and we throw it out because it's in the way. And that's just the honest truth. We've never really used it other than maybe a couple of, no, I can't even say that we put it into the burger pile, because usually if you leave that attached and you hang your meat once it's dry, because with the wild game, it's not like a cow or something like that where it's, actually like half-inch thick or an inch thick, kind of a thing. With wild game, it's like whatever, 3/8 to half-inch thick. By the time it dries up from being hung, if you go to trim it, you're gonna have just like a 1/4 inch of meat. Where this way, what I'll do is I'll gut the bear, I'll take the skirt steak, I'll cut it off, I'll throw it in the fridge, and that day or the next day is when we'll cook it up. And then that way it doesn't get that dry crust on the outside, and we'll actually be able to use it. Another weird one that I want to try too is bear head tacos. So on top of a bear head, right here, you can feel on the skull of the bear, there's a big ridge that runs down the top of their head. It's the same ridge that your dog has too. And on each side, there's usually a couple of like good size roasts, depending on the size of the bear that you got. But it's like a big chunk of meat on both sides. So I kind of want to skin one of the heads out, pull that meat off, maybe pull the meat off their cheeks. I'm not so sure about the cheeks though, because I think that would be extremely tough. But the stuff on top of their head, I think it'll be excellent meat to eat. I mean, meat is meat. It doesn't matter if it comes off of the head or the tenderloin. It's still just red muscle. So I really want to try that out. Also, I want to render down some bear fat and make some lard. Whether we use it for cooking or somebody wants to make a pie with it, or if you just want to, use it to waterproof your boots, whatever. I just want to give her a go. I don't think I've ever rendered it down before, but it's pretty simple. By the looks of it, you just get like a cast iron pot, put in your bear fat on a low heat, and let it slowly melt. And once it's totally melted off and you have little chunks of kind of cooked bear fat, it's done. Jar it and you're good to go. Like, it sounds extremely simple, and I'm pretty sure it is that simple. I've watched several videos of it, and yeah, if you can melt butter, you can render bear fat. So we'll definitely give that a try. Also, like, bear ribs. I want to make bear ribs. Pretty well, when you talk to people when it comes to cooking bear, there's sausage, smokies, and roasts. There's no such thing as stir fries, tacos, ribs, anything like that, because I think so many people are so worried and scared about getting trichinosis, and they just don't want to attempt it at all. The way I'm going to go about it, things like stir fry, tacos, nachos, whatever you're making there, I'm just going to cook it till it's well done. If you're a little bit worried about it, just cook it 5 more minutes, like, whatever. When it comes to ribs, basically, I'll probably just cut them up into, I don't know, maybe 3-inch sections, kind of a thing. Probably boil them for 5-10 minutes, because the water boils much higher than 160 degrees. I can't remember what it boils at. It boils at 100 degrees Celsius. And I'm not too sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but it'll kill trichinosis. And once as I kind of cook them, by boiling them, I'll take them out, I'll let them chill, I'll dry them all off, and then from there is when I'll treat them like any other ribs or piece of meat, where they're already cooked, they're dried off, they're cooled. Now let's cook it like regular meat. So that's when I'll put on like a dry rub or whatever. And I think in this case, what I'm going to do is I might try deep frying them, possibly deep frying them in bear lard. And I'm going to cook them up kind of like Charlie Lake ribs. If you ever been up in the Peace region and you've gone through Charlie Lake, you got to stop in a Charlie Lake store and get some of their ribs. They are top-notch stuff. If you're worried about your weight or you're on a diet, I don't suggest eating them, but they're pretty good if you don't mind a little grease. They're definitely a treat. I'll eat them once every 3 months or so now, if that. It's been, I think, last winter sometime is when I ate them last, but yeah, they're a treat for sure. And then one other thing I want to try doing too is marinating some in some birch syrup. I don't know if I'm gonna do maybe like a sweet teriyaki honey garlic stir fry kind of a thing, where I'm gonna use the birch syrup as like kind of the main base of it, and marinate it in that, and then cook it off and just see kind of what happens. I'm not overly too sure. Or I could use it as a glaze, like if I make bear ribs twice. Maybe the first time I deep fry them, second time I do the same thing where I boil them up, dry them up, and chill them kind of thing. And then I use birch syrup as like a glaze almost. And then if you just slow roast them in the barbecue, it might reduce it even more, so you have like a sticky glaze on your ribs. So yeah, we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, I just want to make it so people realize that bear meat is just as versatile as any other meat, whether it's moose, deer, elk, beef. One thing too is I really don't think people realize that anything you cook with beef, you can make with wild game. So if I take it a step further and I can cook anything with bear meat, what's stopping you from going out hunting, getting yourself your first deer, and then cooking, nachos or tacos, making a roast, making a steak, whatever it is, just give her a try. I know a lot of people, when they cook wild game, for some reason, they get it in their head that it's some weird thing they have to cook just a certain special way, and it slightly have to, because it's so lean. You can't cook it with high heat. You cook it on medium to low heat, and you cook it longer. Other than that, there's no difference whatsoever. So, yeah, hopefully if people watch what I do with bear meat, they'll take it and go, well, if he can do that with bear, I can do that with deer or moose, because I've done it with beef before. And yeah, just simplify cooking, and hopefully it gets you guys to experiment with your cooking as well. But yeah, guys, I think that's gonna be it here for this podcast. I really hope you enjoyed listening and watching to this. Again, if you are just watching and you want to listen to it, search the Buick Outdoors Podcast on all major podcast platforms. And if you're just listening to this and you want to actually see my ugly mug, head over to our YouTube channel called Buick Outdoors. And there's a playlist for all of our podcasts there. There's also a playlist for hunting, fishing, outdoor adventures, how-to videos. And there's going to be a few more coming up on, like, I think I named it Holiday Trailer Life or RV Living or something like that. Just to give you some tips and tricks on your holiday trailer, because I basically live in mine in the summer and fall. But anyways, guys, hope you like it. If you did, hit the like button down in the corner if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel, leave us a comment or two, let us know how you like it. And if you're just listening to this, maybe give us a little review or rating on the podcast platform that you're listening to it. And yeah, guys, I'll get you on the next one. Done drinking out of the toilet? Alrighty, friend. Oh, your mom's not done dying yet either.
I'm sorry.
Lots of noise.